That's my main? Gotcha.
That's your main.
Right. Hi everyone, Chef JUYA here. Today we are going to be cooking up some of those ingredients we found out there. We're going to start with ostrich steaks. A deep red color to this meat and 97% fat-free, making it lean and great source of protein and other minerals like B12 and iron. We've got our ostrich coming up to room temperature, so it'll be a little easier for us to work with. While we're doing that, we're going to get one of our luxurious items on this dish started, which is going to be essentially an emulsion of gorgonzola dolce and bone marrow. We're going to start by seasoning our bone marrow bones, so we're going to want to make sure that we've got a good amount of salt and pepper all over them. And then just to make sure we've got some nice continuity throughout our dish, we're going to put a little fresh thyme over the top for the roast, and that's going to infuse just a little bit of that flavor into the marrow itself, which is great because later we're going to be basting these steaks with a little bit of thyme as well. Next step we're going to be making here is going to be our rub. The idea here is we're going to mimic a little bit of like a volcanic ash look. What we're going to do is have some really finely ground espresso beans, some porcini mushroom to bring some nice earthiness to that, black pepper, flaky sea salt, and then some paprika just to bring a little bit of extra depth of flavor. We're just going to measure everything by the heart today, so I decided this is the amount that we want on our mushrooms. They're all going in. We don't want anything to get too bitter, so we're going to be a little bit stingy with our espresso bean. This is the only salt that's going to go on the dish, on the steak itself, so we want to be nice and generous with this here. Make sure we've got enough to give all the right seasonings to that and give all the right flavors. The black pepper, I absolutely love this kick. We've done a nice coarse grind. There'll be some chunks in this where you'll get a nice kick of heat. So we're going to be generous with that. And then the paprika, we want that for the color, for the flavor. That's going to give us just about enough with a little excess in case we want to do something with this later as well. And now when we sear our ostrich steaks with that on there, it's going to char up nice. Bone marrow here is just starting to render out. We're going to wait a little bit longer. Wait until we get a little bit of toasty color on the bone itself and we start to see some of the rendered marrow really dripping down into the pan. So far in our ostrich dish, you're going to be seeing a lot of umami flavors, a lot of earthy notes, and then some richness and creaminess. Now to bring all this together, we're going to add a little bit of acidity and a little bit of texture. So we're going to be doing a really quick pickle on some mustard seeds. We're going to start with our yellow mustard seed, some apple cider vinegar, some honey, and then just a little pinch of some nice flaky sea salt to bring everything together in the pot. So what we're going to do now is we're going to whisk this up just real quick to get it all mixed. And we are going to try and bring this up to a boil rapidly and then reduce it immediately down to a simmer, where we're going to let it sit for around 15 minutes. Up next, we're going to work with something we had hidden in the back, which is some roasted beets. We're going to be using some toasted walnuts, the roasted beets, cocoa powder, and a little black pepper to make a soil that's going to be the base of this dish. It's going to bring a really nice, deep, earthy flavor around to everything. It's really important that you make sure that you toast your walnuts, dries them out just a little bit, make sure that this doesn't turn into a creamy paste. We are, when this is done blending, going to be putting it in the oven to dehydrate it a little bit, make it a little bit more crumbly. Now your cocoa powder, you don't want to do anything that has any kind of sugar, but any level of darkness on your cocoa powder is going to be fine and bring a nice bitter dark note to this, as well as bring the color you want. Just a little bit of pepper for some flavor in the bottom of this, no big deal. Putting our Ninja blender to work today. I'm going to drop this in here again. All right. So because of the texture we're going for here, you're not going to get it to really blend up all the way you want it to. So what I recommend at that point is getting a bowl out, kind of smashing the beets the last little bit, smushing up a little bit of your walnuts and your cocoa together, Now we're gonna set this in some foil, open in the oven so that it dehydrates, loses its moisture, and it's gonna color up and get nice dark brown color to it. We just got the beets in the oven to get those dehydrating a little bit, coloring up for us so they can be the base of our meal. Now we're gonna be pulling out our bone marrow bones, which have reached a nice point of rendering. We've got some great gelatinous bone marrow in there, a little bit of toastiness on our pepper and our thyme, and you can see that the bones themselves are starting to brown up. That's a great sign that you're ready to pull these out. What you're gonna see here is you've got a lot of the marrow that was flush with the bone is now rendered down and shrunk back. You can see a little glisten there, and you can see a little bit will be coming off the end there. Now, most of that drip has been caught in our pan because we're gonna use that to make this emulsion. We weren't gonna lose a single bit of that. We're gonna go ahead and take the large bits of the herbs off of here so that nobody gets a stem when they're enjoying this emulsion with their ostrich later. Everything else here is fair game, is gonna go right into the pot. So we're gonna head back over to the oven where we're gonna use our Gorgonzola Dolce Latte that we got from Mazzaro's Italian Market. And then we're gonna add a little heavy whipping cream, just whip it all together, create a nice, rich, earthy, fudgy sauce for this. So back to the stove top to finish off the bone marrow emulsion. If you take a look in the pan, we've already got a little bit of that marrow that had dripped out from the roast in the oven. That's gonna be the start of things. We're gonna go ahead and drop our Gorgonzola in there and add a little bit of heavy cream. Lastly, we're gonna scrape as much of this rendered beefy marrow out as we can get. Now, it doesn't seem like a lot's coming out here, but the reality is this goes a long way, and even just what came out in the drippings is gonna add a ton of flavor to this emulsion here. We're gonna get this on an extremely low heat, just so that it's giving us a little bit of melt on that cheese, and we can get everything incorporated. And we're gonna start moving that cheese around right away with everything. Try and break up the bits of marrow as you can with your whisk. And now the bone marrow is never gonna go completely soft on you in here. So what we're looking for is all of that Gorgonzola Dolce Latte to have rendered down and become completely smooth in the sauce. So our next and nearly final step for this recipe is going to be to set up our basting first. We're gonna need a little bit of garlic, some butter, some fresh thyme. Just crack the garlic open like that, because we don't need to chop this up any kind of special way today. Smash it up. Next, we're gonna make sure that we've got all the excess moisture off of the surface of these steaks, so that we can really get a nice crust and caramelization when they go into the pan. Just use any household paper towel. You don't have to press them hard, nothing like that. Just get a quick pat dry on those steaks, and then they're gonna be ready for use. Next, we're gonna rub our steaks. Now, when we rub a meat, do exactly what it says. You want to rub that in there, not just sprinkle it on there. So you start by sprinkling it on over the top of everything, and then make sure you really do get a good rub over the meat. This helps grind the spices and seasonings all the way in there, really penetrating flavor into the meat instead of just right on the surface. It's also going to help us with a crust like this and higher heat to make sure that we're not going to completely scorch and burn the crust, but just toast it really hard. Give it a nice color and release the flavors on there. Go ahead and clean your cutting board up if you're a mess like me. So because we don't want to burn this crust, We're gonna be looking for a medium-high heat instead of an absolute screamer like you would do with just a raw piece of meat. We're gonna go ahead and use some avocado oil for its higher smoke point, which is gonna allow us to be a little bit hotter with the oil without it imparting any burn flavor. Our pan is now just ready. You're gonna know you're ready for this kind of a cook and sear when you see just a little wisp of smoke coming off your oil. You're gonna wanna drop it down just a little bit in heat because of the kind of rub we're using again. And we're gonna drop these right in there. The side we want to show first is the side going down on the pan first. Lay it down away from you so that any oil splashes aren't gonna come back in your face there. We're gonna try to make sure that these both have a little bit of space in there. We're gonna leave them completely alone for about the next 90 seconds to make sure we get a really nice crust on that side there. We're at just about the 90-second mark. We're ready to flip these so that we don't get a burn on either side. Got a beautiful caramelization and crust on that guy right there. And this guy as well. The rub's really doing a lot of work for us, and so is this pan, giving us a great Maillard reaction on the protein, caramelizing everything there for us. Now that we've flipped over on this side, we're gonna go ahead and drop our butter into the pan, along with our garlic and our thyme. And we're gonna reduce the heat because that butter is gonna burn otherwise. And what we're doing now is we're finishing the cook and adding the flavor and a little extra richness to the dish. Woo! By spooning the butter. What we're looking to do here is we're leaning this back so that our butter isn't cooking right over the flame anymore, but it is staying hot. Our meat is what's taking the majority of the heat of the direct flame, even though it's tilted off. You're gonna see it's browning up. That's what we're calling a brown butter there. And that's why we move it away so that it doesn't turn black and it doesn't burn. So we're getting to the final plating steps here. I'm gonna go ahead and utilize these mustard seeds in two places. So I decided I didn't want to let these beautiful beet greens go to waste. So I washed them, soaked them a little bit, and they essentially will act like an edible cabbage base on the bottom. With the acid from these mustard seeds, it's gonna give you a really nice like salad note as well. Our next step here on the plating is gonna be to take our soil that we created with those walnuts, the cocoa powder, and the beets, and we're gonna spread that around the plate here. And we do wanna make sure there's enough of this to bring the bitter note that it's got to the dish as well, not just for the look here. Now our steaks have been resting for a little while here. We should be ready to cut here without having to lose too much juice. When we slice our steaks, we're gonna be looking to slice on a bias that'll give us the most color presentation here. So we're gonna angle our knife, gonna take some nice clean strokes here. And we're looking for one of these hopefully to have hit a medium, which is about as far as you're gonna wanna take ostrich, or it's gonna get too tough. That's gonna be this one right here. I'm hoping that this one here, we're gonna see a little bit more rare color in the center. More medium rare, which we are. This is gonna be the really common way that you're gonna see ostrich eaten. It's gonna keep it nice and tender, nice and juicy. You're gonna avoid any of the toughness that might happen should you overcook because of the lack of fat in this meat here. Now with our steak sliced and on the plate, we're gonna go ahead and drizzle down this gorgonzola dolce and bone marrow emulsion that we made earlier with the heavy whipping cream. That's just a wonderful, rich, delicious sauce we've made. This creaminess is gonna be a really nice complement to the other bitter and earthy umami notes that we have in here. Last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna drip some of these little teeny mustard seeds all over the top here, almost like little caviar bites, and just a fantastic potent hit of acidity and sweetness in these from the honey and the apple cider vinegar. It's time to finally get a taste of what we made and see how it came out. Want to get a little bit of everything here. Really pleased with this dish. I'm JUYA. This has been Oddly Delicious. Come try us again.